Hey guys, the Explorer of Horror here, the Horror Boy. Welcome back to some more reviews, and today we're going to be getting to the Hills Have Eyes 2006 remake, which gets a 6.49 directed by Alexander Aja. Now, I know this director was also really heavily involved in the Maniac remake, which I'm also a really big fan of. Great filmmaker, very passionate about horror. Definitely did a great job making this remake, and of course I'm holding up these two because I have the theatrical cut and the unrated cut, which I actually have the theatrical of The Hills of Ice 2 as well. I'll be honest, I watched both cuts. I don't really notice the difference with The Hills of Ice 2 unrated version, but with the first movie's unrated version, it's definitely noticeable. Now, this is one of those extremely rare cases, as I can't even think of a time before where I've actually said this, but I prefer the theatrical cut over the unrated cut. Yes. Mainly because the unrated cut, I can go back to what Tom Savini said about his effects. If you stay on an effect too long, it begins to look like an effect. But if you use quick cuts, which is what this version does, the illusion looks more real. And I would say this version is more gorier, which I'll probably just hold up this for it's pretty cool artwork. Look at that artwork, it's pretty awesome. But yeah, Hills of Eyes, the unrated version, it's just a version that they linger on certain shots of gore longer, and for me, it looked like, okay, like there's a dummy head, or here's a CGI shot. It was more apparent in the unrated version, like the effects looked more apparent because they lingered on certain shots for a long time. But the theatrical cut's effects, I think, look great, mainly because they don't show them for a whole lot. And it's still pretty damn gory. Like, the theatrical cut's still pretty damn gory. And the Hills of Eyes remake, I am so glad I got to talk about this movie because this is one of my favorite remakes out there. Definitely an example of how you do a remake the right way is this movie. This movie is, I would say it's as good as the original for different reasons. This is one of those very few instances where the original and the remake are on the same level of being awesome. This movie is really, really good. The story basically is similar to the first movie, the original film, in the fact that it's about a family. They're going out to the desert. They're actually going to go on vacation. They meet the gas station attendant guy, who in this movie is also the guy who, I don't really know if they mentioned how he's the father. I think it's more of just he's helping them out. He's helping these mutants out. And the story is pretty much the same. I mean, the family goes out there, they hit these road spikes, they wreck their RV and their truck, so they can't go anywhere. And they get attacked by these mutants in the middle of the night, and the father gets killed, the his wife gets killed, their lead character Doug in this movie, his girlfriend gets killed. Pretty much almost everybody gets killed, and it's a very brutal scene. And the rest of the movie, the second half of the film, is the redemption of the family. It's just one of those remakes where, like, the first half is pretty much a remake of the first movie. But the second half of the movie takes a completely different tone. It's a much more fast-paced, action-packed, gory as hell, lots of just stunts and choreographed fights. And I will say this, I love the original Hills of Eyes. This movie's third act is like 1,000 times better. The original had its good moments, like the explosion, them blowing up the Papa Jupiter character. Or not really blowing him up, but you see an explosion, and then later on he gets killed by the Doug character. The redemption in that movie is decent, but here it's a lot more well done. And I love both movies equally. They're both great films. I love them to death. But here, it's Doug pretty much going after this family, the mutants, and taking them on by himself, going solo with Beast. And I thought that was awesome. And the other people like Bobby and his sister, they also have their redemption as well. Where pretty much the same thing that happens. They find this guy, trick him to go on this RV, they blow it up, and then later on he's still alive and they kill him. And to get into more in depth of the review, though, I absolutely love this remake. I think this is a solid example of how you make a remake with a different tone, a different feel, a different second half of the film. It's not 100% a remake, but it's still in the vein of being a remake. It's just something that I wish more remakes would do. I'm not a fan of remakes. Like, I don't mind remakes. I really don't. Like, this remake, the Rob Zombie's Halloween remake, this is the unrated version. I'm not a fan of this cut, but the theatrical cut of this film, I'll be honest, I don't really hate the Rob Zombie remake, the theatrical cut. I don't really hate it. I think it's a watchable film. But for me with remakes, my pet peeve with remakes is the remakes that just don't do anything new. They don't do anything original. They don't do anything interesting. They just shot for shot remake the original and not do it as good. For me, when you remake a movie for a modern audience, don't just remake it completely, because I'm pretty sure a lot of those people have seen the original, and it's going to be a lot of comparisons. Whereas here, it's like, it's similar to the remake, or, yeah, the remake is similar to the remake. The remake is similar to the original, but it's different enough to work its own unique experience of a film. And that's why I can respect stuff like Rob Zombie's Halloween. I respect Rob Zombie's H2 because it's different. It's really, really different. Rob Zombie's movies are totally not copying the original movies. They are his visions. I can respect that. Not a biggest fan of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, but the first movie I think is pretty watchable. I can watch it. The Friday the 13th remake. That movie's not just a shot-for-shot remake of Friday the 13th Part 1. It's the first 4 movies kind of put into one story. I like that idea. I love the Child's Play remake. I don't really know if you consider The Thing to be a remake. It's more of a re-adaptation of the story. It's not even really a remake of the original Thing from Netherworld. It's a version of the story, the short story, Who Goes There. So I don't even know if you really consider it to be a remake or not. But I just can't stand the remakes that just go all CGI, don't do anything different. I've seen the Omen remake. I barely remember it. It was horrible. The Psycho remake is a shot-for-shot remake. I don't think I've ever seen it, but I don't know if I really will see it. Poltergeist, the remake. Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake. There's plenty of bad remakes out there, but I feel like if more remakes would do what the good remakes do. Like, in my opinion, I'm a big fan of this remake. I really am. It gets hate. I will never understand the hate for this movie. Or the Friday the 13th remake. I will never understand that. To me, this is a very unique film. It's not copying the original really at all. I mean, besides the fact that you have other faiths, people get hung up on me-hook, stuff like that, but it's not a shot-for-shot copy of the original. I love this remake. I really do. I even really enjoyed this remake. The Evil Dead remake. Doesn't really have the best story or characters, but it's not awful either. It's not horrible. It's a fun gore fest with twisted moments. A fun Evil Dead movie. I actually really enjoy this remake. So there are remakes that I enjoy, and the reason why I put this one in there is because the third act, and also the first part, being a remake of the original, you still love these characters. The Doug character, I thought, did a great job at being the lead. And I thought Aaron Stanford, who's been in some other, he's been in like a TV show, was it called 12 Monkeys or something like that? I know I remember him being in the X-Men movies as well, but he did a great job playing the Doug character, this guy who is kind of a pacifist, doesn't believe in using guns or anything like that or being violent, and by the end of the movie he has a complete transformation. His character just goes totally 180 and becomes a badass. And it's like, you got a great cast here. I thought everybody, as far as the family goes, did their jobs very well. The mom character, once again, is very likable in this film. And it's very heartbreaking when she gets killed. And I think it's like this and the original have those great moments where it's the aftermath of the trailer attack, and Aaron Stanford's character Doug is trying to comfort her, and as she's passing on, and so is Bobby. And when she's passing on, she's talking about how, is everybody okay? And it's heartbreaking, and it's a good moment, and it's still a powerful part of the film. And it's a remake of that moment. And I feel like this moment, the trailer attack in this version, I would say is a little bit more intense than the original, because here you have like a really awful rape scene, and rape scenes in movies for me, like that's why I really can't watch I Spit on Your Grave too much, or like I love Last House on the Left. I really like I Spit on Your Grave, those films, but they're really hard to watch because for me, watching rape, I don't know, in a movie, it's just hard for me. It's just hard to watch a rape scene in a film. But this trailer attack is such a really brutal, horrifying moment. The one girl's being raped. You have this shot right here, which is really cool, really iconic shot. Of course, they put on the poster where she gets killed, the mom gets killed, very brutal scene, and the redemption. It's a really sad moment, but the redemption makes you feel better because like these people did get their revenge on these mutants. And the revenge is badass. I mean, you have Doug going to this empty town. It's breakfast time, finds this mutant guy in there with the big giant head. And I forgot to mention, I love how in this movie the mutants aren't a copy of the original film. The original film, it was more like inbreeding, like inbred cannibals. Here it's more of this town had nuclear bombs go off near it, and it was a bunch of miners, and people didn't want to move. They stayed there. They got mutated by this radiation and became these mutants. So I like how it's a different story. It's a different message, and I like how they go into the nuclear stuff, the nuclear radiation stuff. It's creepy. And the movie opens up with a really creepy opening with the song and the pictures. Really chilling opening credits. And I like how the designs of Pluto is, and Jupiter, and the Ruby character. I like how they're different. They're not copies. I like that. And I love when the Doug character goes to this town, and it's breakfast time. Literally one of the best sequences in a horror film for me. I can put it on there. It's one of the best and most intense chase scenes, fight scenes, just lots of stunts. You got Doug going through walls, going through windows, getting his fingers chopped off. He's still fighting, crawls underneath this table. You have Michael Bailey Smith in this movie playing Pluto. Does a great job doing a very unique version of Pluto. Definitely a very original in his own performance of Pluto. Just smashing this table in and flipping the table. The Doug character looks like he's like giving up. The axe like right here. And of course the Doug character is just trying to distract these guys. Stabs the screwdriver right in his foot. Takes the axe right to the head. American flag to the freaking neck. Crazy ass sequence. Gory as hell. Even the theatrical cut is gory as hell. Or even earlier, he takes an axe and chops the guy in the kneecap. Then hits him in the back. Then he flips it around and hits the pointy edge of the axe in this guy's eye. Or the RV explosion. When that happens, it explodes in this giant explosion. And then this chick, the girl that got raped, gets her revenge. She has like a pickaxe and just stabs this guy in the face. There's a great sequence where Doug is on the stairs and Pluto just grabs him by the leg and just drags him on the stairs, hits the stairs, barely misses the Doug character. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. He gets a shotgun, goes and fights this lead character, the lead bad guy character, who I believe was the guy from Land of the Dead and many other films. Great actor. Has his road spikes, swings, it hits the Doug character right in the face. Doug character gets beat up a little bit. but he has that just wonderful shot and this great moment that's just such a wonderful build-up. This ending build-up fight is really well done, where he looks at his finger, which has been chopped off, and the wedding ring is on there. And he kind of just gets up, the music ramps up, fights the lead bad guy, hits him with the shotgun, shoots him. The music is just building and building. The Ruby character tackles the guy off the cliff because he's getting ready to shoot the Doug character. The Ruby character in this movie is pretty well done. It's just a great third act. The effects look wonderful. The makeup on the mutants look great. Pluto, this one guy has just a really weird looking face. His eyes are all bloodshot. His teeth are all rotten. Wearing a trench coat. Grabs like a pickaxe and just throws it. And it lands like boom, like right next to somebody. Or this one guy has like a neck brace. Not really a neck brace, but if you ever seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, when Willy Wonka's a little kid has that thing for like his braces or whatever, this guy has that. So creepy design for that. The big giant head guy who gets killed by Beast. And also the Beast dog in this is a badass too. I mean, he's getting his revenge for, of course, Lady, who also, that's another part of the remake of this where the Lady dog dies too. Yeah, the Beast dog is kicking ass. The Doug character's kicking ass. Bobby. I like how they did the same arc for Bobby, where he's unsure, he's very panicky, but he has to become this leader. He has to help his sister. He has to be somebody to take charge and, get the revenge. And I like how his character has his arc from being scared to finally standing up and fighting these mutants. I like that. It's a very gory film. Either version you watch, a very gory, brutal film. The kills are just intense and bloody as hell. The score, the soundtrack is amazing. I love how they made the main theme song sound like a nuclear alarm kind of beat. And it's a great soundtrack. I mean, the music that plays in the trailer attack, during the chase scene, the ending of the film, that great score that builds up to when Doug finds the baby. And the movie ends with Doug finding the baby, rescuing the baby, and Bobby and his sister and Beast, they all go off, they live. It's a great moment. And it kind of ends like there's going to be a sequel, which is why they made the sequel. But it's kind of weird because in the sequel, there's a sequel bait ending as well, but it's like weird. I'll get to that when I get to that review, but the movie shot beautifully, has a wonderful atmosphere. The desert atmosphere of this movie is just absolutely wonderful. A lot of the effects, even the CGI effects, look good. And I just think that the theatrical cut, when they cut away from these effects, they look more realistic that way. But if you want a more gorier version, the unrated cut is the way to go. But the effects look great, the music's wonderful, it's shot beautifully, has a great atmosphere, has a great look to it that I really like, that 2000s look where just about the way they filmed this 28 days later, 28 weeks later, they kind of had the same thing. I love that look, just the way that those movies are filmed. These movies, 28 days later, 28 weeks later, have a great look and cinematography. It's very well directed by Alexander Aja. He's very passionate about horror. You could tell he definitely put a lot of care in this remake. The last half of the film is amazing. The story is great. It's still got that great story. It's got that classic story. It's got great character arcs. It's just got wonderful scenes, wonderful shots. It's easily one of the best remakes out there. Easily. One of my favorite remakes of all time. But yeah, almost everything in this movie works. Cast, characters, the writing, direction, how it's different enough to be its own unique film. The trailer attack sequence is pretty intense. You have the same scene where they get the bird, they pull the head out the bird and drink the blood. just a really, really intense movie. Really, really scary, creepy at times, intense, pulse pounding. Just a phenomenal remake. Absolutely phenomenal remake. I'm gonna give it probably a 7.5 or maybe an 8. It's a really wonderful remake. But anyways, guys, my review on the Hills Have Eyes remake from 2006. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know you guys thoughts on this in the comments below. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know in the comments below. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching my review on the Hills Have Eyes remake. I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much for watching. Explorer 4 is out. See you guys. Peace.